I'm holding it up just for one more look at it. There it is. Game Change. Hell of a book. Let's go to this. This is the splash in today's Politico. Amazing cover. The Clintons stand alone. John Heilman, you first. The portrait you paint of Hillary Clinton is, well, you paint it right now. Who is Hillary Clinton as she comes across in the 2008 campaign as you discovered her behind the scenes?
Well, she comes across, Chris, I think, in the first instance, as a much more ambivalent candidate getting into the race than most people expect. A lot of people assume Hillary Clinton was going to be running from the very beginning. You know, we report in Game Change that all the way up until late 2006, her senior-most advisors thought there was a chance that she would forego the run entirely, and we portray her and that ambivalence carried through. I think we portray her as a tough, ruthless candidate, as ruthless as anybody has ever thought. But I also think, balancing that picture, there's an awful lot of humanity in this book that we show about Hillary Clinton that people haven't discussed as much as they might once they get a chance to read the book.
You know, on that topic, ruthless, Mark, give me a description, if you can, verbally now, of her behavior as apparently witnessed by one of her top people in your book after losing the Iowa caucuses. How would you describe that vividly?
Two big nights for Hillary Clinton in this campaign, scenes that we recreate in the book that are pretty dramatic in terms of her temperament, what you're asking about. She loses the Iowa caucuses as recently as that day. She had been led to believe, on the night before, rather, the Iowa caucuses, she'd been led to believe that she'd finish first or a close second. That morning, she started to get indications there might be trouble. She finishes a distant third, and in the suite, in the hotel Fort Des Moines in downtown Des Moines. She's in this room with her top aides, her husband. Both Clintons are seething. They've got a range of grievances, a range of angers, including both of them convinced that Barack Obama has cheated to win the caucuses. And she's so angry that night that one of her top lieutenants, someone who'd worked with her for a long time, who was in the room that night, we say in Game Change, looked at her behavior, this lack of composure, this lack of leadership after a big loss, and said, boy, I wonder if this woman should actually be president.
James Carville has a suggestion as to who that person is. Is it that person, John Heilman?
Well, we're being pretty scrupulous here, Chris, about protecting our sources, and so I'm not going to have anything to say about that. But I can certainly say that the person who thought it was someone who was a deep believer in Hillary Clinton and who in that moment was stunned to see her lack of composure and her lack of resilience in that moment of defeat.
So it was not Patty Solis Doyle, or you're not talking?
I'm not talking.
Okay, let me ask you about this one. Let's watch now. This is Drexel University, October 30, 2007. To many people, this was a game-changing event in the campaign. It's at Drexel U in Philadelphia.
Why does it make a lot of sense to give an illegal immigrant a driver's license?
Well, what Governor Spitzer is trying to do is fill the vacuum left by the failure of this administration to bring about comprehensive immigration reform. I just want to add, I did not say that it should be done, but I certainly recognize why Governor Spitzer is trying to do it, and we have failed. We have failed.
No. You said yes.
No.
You thought it made sense to do it.
No, I didn't, Chris.
Senator Clinton, I just want to make sure what I heard. Do you, the New York Senator, Hillary Clinton, support the New York governor's plan to give illegal immigrants a driver's license?
Tim, this is where everybody plays gotcha. It makes a lot of sense.
Unless I missed something, Senator Clinton said two different things in the course of about 2 minutes, just a few minutes ago.
Well, I was confused on Senator Clinton's answer. I can't tell whether she was for it or against it.
Well, gentlemen, Tim Russert, the late Tim Russert, our beloved colleague here, one of the great journalists of our era, was doing something, consciously or not, that's called middling someone, John Heilman. It's when you force them to choose on television or in your presence between two loyalties. She had to choose right there between Governor Spitzer, the guy she needed to back her in New York, and her knowledge that the position for people getting driver's licenses who are not in this country legally was going to kill anybody in a general election, and she couldn't decide, and that exposed her as someone who tried to get it both ways. I think that really opened up some about Hillary. Tell us what you discovered in that moment, why it was important in your book and your findings.
It did, and I'll tell you two things about it, Chris. One is that, Hillary's staffers and her top aides saw that moment as a car crash. We recreate that moment when she's on stage at that debate, and you have in the back room, you have Mandy Grunwald, her ad maker, literally yelling at the television set, saying, "Stop, please, stop," as she continues to stumble.
What's Mandy saying? Back the governor or back the general election, the easiest position to take against illegal driver's licenses?
I think what she's saying is just stop talking, please, and stop taking multiple positions, because you're just digging yourself a deeper hole. But the reason that debate is so important, Chris, is that at that moment, before that debate, Hillary Clinton was ahead by 35 points in the national polls. She was cruising towards what everyone thought was the nomination. And one of the great revelations in Game Change, I think, is just how confident she was. We write in the book that it was literally a week or so before that she first convened two of her top advisors, Roger Altman and John Podesta, to start planning not just for her eventual nomination, but not her eventual victory into the White House, but for her transition into the Oval Office. A single vote had not been cast in the Democratic nomination fight, and she was so confident she would be president of the United States that she started a detailed, rigorous transition effort.
Mark, I want you to get, because you're a Clinton expert, you've been covering them since they first arrived on the national scene. Everybody sees you as really one of the real Clinton experts. What did this tell you, that moment on television with Tim Russert there, asking that tough question and her not really able to decide on her answer? What did that tell you about her as a front runner and what it did to the campaign?
Chris, my hat's off to your production team, because that was extremely well edited. You saw so much going on there. That was a rich video segment, a scene we try to create. We do recreate in the book. You saw Chris Dodd playing a role there. I'd say the importance of that is that Dodd had not done very much to speak up against Hillary Clinton. A lot of his advisors, we report in the book, were very anti-Clinton, urged him to go after Hillary. He wouldn't. The one time he did in any significant way was in that debate. If he hadn't stepped up and spoken and called her on it and said, wait a minute, Hillary, you seem to be giving two different answers, this could have well have turned out different. You also saw there John Edwards and Barack Obama. There's a scene during that debate not caught on camera after the first break. Edwards had been aggressive at going after Clinton throughout the beginning of the debate. Obama exceedingly professorial. Edwards goes up to Obama during the break and looks him in the eye and says, focus, 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 Barack. They knew going in, this was not this was not just any debate. Obama and Edwards both said to themselves, this is it. If we don't stop her tonight, she's not going to be stopped.
You nailed something there, Mark. The inability of Barack Obama to go for the kill and the need for him to have allies. And what doesn't he have right now? Allies willing to go in for the kill against his enemies. Let's take a look. I'm talking about right now in 2010. He doesn't have allies of his level willing to go in and do the dirty work for him. He's got to do it himself, and it's not working. That's why he's not able to lead successfully so far. Let's take a look politically. Let's take a look at this. Mark Penn and Edwards, John Edwards, remember him? His advisors, Joe Trippi, on Hardball on December 13, 2007. Another big moment in your book. I want you guys to talk about why it was important. Let's listen. Do you think those are appropriate shots at the opponent, or are they below the belt?
Well, I think we've made clear that the issue related to cocaine use is not something that the campaign was in any way raising, and I think that's been made clear. I think this kindergarten thing was a joke after Senator.
Did it again. He just did it again.
This kindergarten thing after this, what the senator did.
They just literally.
Excuse me,
No, Mark. Excuse me. This guy's been filibustering on this. He just said cocaine again. It's like.
I think you're saying cocaine.
No.
I don't know. I think you're saying
I think there's something wrong.
Joe Trippi's turn.
Well, there's Joe Trippi jumping in there, Mark, and saying that Hillary Clinton's guy's his hatchet man. In this case, according to your book, Mark Penn, who's a smart guy in a sort of an intellectual way, went back afterwards and bragged to his campaign about how many times he dropped the C word, cocaine, on this show, Hardball. Your thoughts, Mark?
Mark Penn, we report in the book, an alliance with Bill Clinton, were incredibly frustrated as 2007 proceeded, as Obama gained momentum in Iowa and nationally, that the campaign wasn't going after Obama, that they were doing nothing to bring him down. That debate took place at the end of the year, pretty much on the eve of the Iowa caucuses. And at the time, one of Clinton's supporters, Billy Shaheen, national co-chairman from New Hampshire, had talked in an interview with the Washington Post about how Obama would be vulnerable as a Democratic nominee because of his acknowledgement of drug use. Penn, that interview that you did, that segment with those three top advisors, occurred on the day of the debate. Penn dropped it in. Again, it's kind of an attempt to circumvent the Clinton campaign policy, no negative campaigning, because the decision was it would backfire in Iowa. Penn did it in that interview, seeming to pretend to do it in an accidental way. And then, as you say, we report in the book afterwards, he went back to the headquarters and bragged to people, all excited, that he was able to slip the word in.
Tell me about Hillary's role in pushing this story. What was her position in your book? Did she want to push the cocaine charge that he was a dealer?
She sure did. She wanted to push Billy Shaheen's comments out, Chris. And it was when Shaheen first made those comments, her senior staff thought this is a disaster. I mean, this is going to backfire with us. They believed the national press was on Obama's side. They believed that the national press was looking for any way to make the charge against the Clinton campaign, that they were ruthless and mean and overly negative. And so they wanted to immediately cut Billy Shaheen loose. They wanted to disown the comments, get rid of him. Hillary Clinton's reaction on the conference call that night was she was not going to cut Billy Shaheen loose. She didn't think he should be gotten rid of. She thought drug use was an entirely legitimate issue that had been legitimate in previous campaigns, and her literal verbatim reaction on the conference call was, good for him. Let's push it out.
So she was concerned that the national press was unfairly calling her ruthless. At the same time, she was being ruthless, you're saying?
I think that's an accurate assessment.
Well, it's yours. It's not mine. Don't lay it on me this time. This is your book, buddy. We're pumping your book here, and you guys were portrayed here in pretty rough terms. We got to take a look anyway. Mark Halpern, they're going to stay with us for one more discussion. We're going to talk about this Sarah Palin. It's unbelievable how little this woman knows. It's unbelievable that she ran for vice president and was unfamiliar with World War I, World War II, Korea, the whole ballgame. What information did she have? Has she ever taken an SAT afternoon exam, the one when they ask you what you know? Don't put her on jeopardy.